Shotgun to shotgun.
Our prophets, our heroes, our leaders won't be the same as theirs. Matter of fact, they'll probably be their villains. So we have to put Nat Turner in the proper context of a prophet, a person that was sent by the Most High to do a mission. And we have to acknowledge him as that. That's the first step. And in doing that, we're going to have to break some of the psychological chains that come with what I call whitewashed European Christianity. What's whitewashed European Christianity? Turn the other cheek. White Jesus. Slave, serve your master. Color doesn't matter. God sees us all the same. Love everybody. This type of stuff. The white Jesus thing, in my opinion, has been one of the most effective, damaging, crippling, psychological tools that the white man ever had until this day. Okay. And our people have not been able to move beyond that. The majority of our people, not all of us, but a lot of our people are stuck on that white Jesus, love everybody, we're all the same in God's eyes. And it doesn't allow us to think in terms of a military mindset. It doesn't allow us to think in terms of being black race first specific. It doesn't even allow us to think that way. So you're already defeated. And I mean, I'm a person that's born and raised in the church, Christian all my life. Still some kind of Christian because I still have my spiritual beliefs that go back to what I learned. But so much of what I learned, I had to get away from, and I'm having to battle it now because if you tell the average black Christian woman that her son should get a black woman and nothing else is acceptable, she'll tell you, well, God love everybody and God don't see color. So we all, and you're going to be into a 35-hour debate. So the first thing we have to do is break that psychological chain, acknowledge and reverence Nat Turner as who he was, a great prophet doing God's will. Nothing he did was outside of God's will because we're in war. Do you see? So that's I think that's the first step. We're not going to be able to have another Nat Turner or reclaim that essence or reclaim that energy as long as we shackled and chained by this European whitewashed, watered down Martin Luther King Christianity. It's not going to happen. Our gods, our prophets, our spiritual systems should represent and push Black liberation. I remember Dr. John Henry Clark said that he said, whatever spiritual system you follow, whether it be Islam, Judaism, he said, whatever it be, ought to be liberation Islam, liberation Judaism, Black liberation, whatever spiritual system you follow, Kemetic science, whatever you follow, it ought to be a tool of Black liberation. And if it's not that, he said, then you throw it into the ash heaps of history. And so I believe in reclaiming the essence of Nat Turner because Nat Turner was a Christian who weaponized the Bible. But from what I can see and from what I've studied, he was grounded in whatever spiritual system his ancestors came from, and so I believe that whatever spiritual system you has, it has to be a tool of liberation. The white man doesn't even follow the brand of Christianity that he teaches us. He'll tell us to go by everybody's God love everybody, we all the same color. But as Amos Wilson talks about in this book, the Blueprint for Black Power, the white man will teach you something that he's not even going to follow. And what he practices is race-based, cartel, strong arm, economic conquering. That's what the white man does. The Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, the Carnegies, the Rothschilds, this is how they move. They'll tell us to do God love everybody, we are the same color. And then they're going to be practicing race-based, cartel, strong arm, economic dominance. And that's how they move. But because of our mindset, we're not even able to move that way. So I say that our gods, our prophets, our heroes should not be theirs. We shouldn't have the same ones they have. Our gods and our prophets and our heroes should be their enemies and their villains. And I believe that's one of the first steps that we got to take in reclaiming the essence of Nat Turner and reclaiming our Black manhood. That's number one. Number two, it said the immortal Nat Turner. That's one of the other things that caught my eye from the topic that I was given. Immortal Nat Turner. Nat Turner won't be immortal unless we make him immortal. And the only way we make him immortal is by always keeping him up at the forefront, keeping his name in everybody's ear, keeping his name in everybody's eye, making sure everybody knows who he is, glorifying what he did, pushing what he did, and challenging our boys and our men to match that manhood. Because if we let it, because James Baldwin got with a white man named William Styron, and they wrote another book, a second book called The Confessions of Nat Turner. And in that book, they made Nat Turner a homosexual. They made him, at the same time he was homosexual, he was in love with a white woman. They completely undermined and degraded the mission, the intention, and the motivation of Nat Turner. And they named it The Confessions of Nat Turner, so that whoever goes and try to read about Nat going forward, they might come upon that book instead of the actual confessions. And so they did that's one of the main reasons I hate James Baldwin. They did a hit job on Nat Turner. We got to do a careful job to keep Nat Turner up in the light as a prophet, as a leader, as a hero, and glorified as who he was and what he did. So I believe that's how he will be immortal, because if we don't, then his name will be forgotten and he won't be immortal. And so I say those things to bring it to what I mean practically. What do we do right now, every day, day in and day out, to reclaim that essence, to make sure we can bring back that kind of Black manhood? Because we're in a state right now where we might never see another Nat Turner. And one of the main books that speaks to that topic is this one, Homosexuality and the Feminization of African Male by Bob Berube. If we keep going the way we're going now, we'll never have a Nat Turner. We're going to see the end of real Black manhood. So what I did, when I talk, I don't like to speak so much in theories. I don't like to talk about chakra and frequencies and vibrations and all this stuff. I like to talk about things that we can do right now, each of us, every day, day in and day out. Practical things that we can do if we want to bring back that Nat Turner energy and bring back that kind of manhood. And I ain't gonna say bring it back, because we still have some left, but not very much. So let's just say build and increase that kind of energy and that type of manhood. My first few points go directly to the brothers, because it's on us, all right? I say it all starts with the Black family and the Black children, because Black manhood starts way before you become a man, right? It starts with the children. I say the Black family because if we're gonna cultivate that type of Nat Turner energy, it's gonna take that African-centered family structure with the masculine and feminine balance, which goes directly against what they're trying to do with this LGBTQ movement, all right? So I would say to the brothers, the first thing you're gonna have to do is get you a woman. You're gonna have to get you a queen that wants to see more warriors. Why is that? Why do I have to say that? We have women, we have a lot of Black women now that don't mind their sons having blonde, pink, dyed hair, tight pants, lip moisturizer, pocketbook, wearing some heels, mimicking them. And then they will confront you for teaching real Black manhood and condemning that type of thing. You got women right now that don't understand Black manhood. Just like a few years ago, there was a young brother, he was in, I believe it was Baltimore, about a 15-year-old, and he was protesting. And I think they was throwing stones, and they were just mad because he had friends killed by the police. And his single mom came out and totally castrated him and beat him and attacked him and cursed him in public, in front of everybody, just because he was out demonstrating his anger. You don't want a woman like that. You're not gonna be able to build she's not gonna let you build a warrior. Y'all gonna clash when you try to build that warrior. So I say it all starts with the family, and it all starts with the woman that you choose. All right, next, brothers. And this is just from my study, my experience. I'm only 33 years old. I've been married about 7, 8 years. I got 3 kids, and I lead a group of men, young youth and men. And I've been doing that for 10 years. The key that I found to manhood, to Black manhood, to that Nat Turner type of manhood, is that we've got to have a nation-building military mindset. What do I mean by nation building? Nation building mindset to me means that you got the discipline to sacrifice and do what you got to do to see your family prosper generation after generation. Meaning you're going to pass along wealth, you're going to pass along assets, you're going to pass along ownership, you're going to pass along independence, as opposed to debt, liabilities, poverty, and no legacy. That's what I call a nation building mindset. You're going to build a Black family, and you're going to make the sacrifices necessary to see that Black family prosper for generations and generations. And that's economically, culturally, and spiritually. I call that a nation building mindset. You're also going to have a military mindset. Why is that? Because we at war. My daughter's out there. Let me see. Journey. I need y'all to be quiet, okay? Tell mommy I need y'all to be quiet, all right? You close my door. That's true. Okay. Military mindset. Why? We're in a war. Dr. Claude, and not just a physical war. Yes, a physical war, but the way Dr. Claude Anderson describes it is that we're in a real life monopoly game where every other race group is seeking to acquire, dominate, and control as much land, wealth, and assets as they can at the expense of every other race group. We got to understand that we are in an economic war, a spiritual war, a psychological war. Dr. Amos Wilson says in the Blueprint for Black Power that the #1 war front with the European right now is psychological, controlling the way we think, which goes back to what was said in what was the miseducation of the Negro, Woodson, when he said, if you can control the way a man thinks, you don't have to worry about his action. That's the #1 war front. But guess what? The war is mental, spiritual, economic, physical. It's a war on all fronts. So when I talk about the military mindset, I mean the ability to protect and defend your family, the willingness and ability. Just being able don't mean nothing if you ain't willing to do it. To protect your family and getting them prepared, getting yourself prepared for war on all fronts. And that does mean being trained, being in shape, having the tools. I just told them to be quiet and they back turned up. Having the tools, the necessary arms to protect your family, your community, your people, and being willing to do it. Because Nat Turner was definitely willing to do it. Although he didn't have all the tools necessary, he did what he did with what he had. And so those are the 2 key components of the mindset that I believe, the Nat Turner mindset, a nation building mindset. Nat Turner wasn't interested in being dominated, submissive, integrated, and a slave for the rest of his life. He was interested in freedom and independence for all Black people. Nat Turner wasn't afraid to fight. He had the ability to fight. He had the willingness to fight. He trained his men, and they used the tools at their disposal to fight. And I believe those are 2 crucial aspects of Black manhood. Now, when I talk about the mindset of the real mindset of a Black man, the correct mindset and ideology, these are the areas where I drew my mindset from. They come from study. You gotta be in these books. To have the African-centered mindset, being that we're outside of Africa, to have a military mindset, to have a mindset that mirrors your ancestors, you're gonna have to go search for it. You're gonna have to go find your history. You're gonna have to find what we are all about. You're gonna have to go look it up. You're gonna have to go read. You're gonna have to go research. You're gonna have to listen to the scholars. It's not that hard to pull up a whole lecture from Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, even some of our more current scholars like Dr. Wilson or our living scholars that we still have like Baba Kwesi, Baba Baruti, Marimba. I mean, it's not that hard, but you're gonna have to study. If not, your principles are gonna be off. And it's real easy to see people. I can tell who studied what. For example, with Kamala Harris. If you studied the destruction of Black civilization, there's no debate on that. Is she Black? It's no debate. Is she for? Should we trust her? It's no debate. If you study the destruction of Black civilization. So I say study, spiritual reflection. Everybody has a spirit. Black people are spiritual people. I don't know any Black people worth a damn that are atheists. A part of our development and our ideology and our approach and our perspective is always going to be spiritual and in our relationship with the Most High. Regardless of what you call it or how you call it, we are spiritual people. Okay, so spiritual reflection is going to help you reach the right ideology. Experience from trying to conquer. My thing about a Black man and about myself is every day I wake up, I'm trying to conquer something. I'm trying to grow my business to be better. I'm trying to lift more weights. I'm trying to run longer and faster. I'm trying to shoot better. I'm trying to make my daughters and my wife be happier. I'm trying to get some more guns. I'm trying to get some more land. I'm trying to bring more boys into BPM. I'm trying to write another. I'm trying to conquer something. And I believe that experience that you get, because it's going to be ups and downs and it's going to be failures, you're going to learn a lot from that if you're out trying to conquer. Just like a predator out trying to find some prey. You're not going to always catch the deer, but you're going to learn from every chance you're trying to kill it. And all of that teaches you and leads you back to the right ideology and the right mindset of a Black man. So I say study, spiritual reflection, and experience from trying to conquer will give us that right Nat Turner mindset. If you're not out trying, Nat Turner wasn't trying to stay submissive and subservient. He was trying to take over some shit, get some more guns, and go even further for Black people. If that's not your mindset when you wake up, that's not real Black manhood, in my opinion. So once you got that mindset, once you're doing the things that you're supposed to do as far as family building, nation building, protecting your family, you ready to defend your family and community, you building yourself into a true Safo, you taking on the Nat Turner mindset, the next thing for you to do is to pass that mindset on to and empower as many of our young boys as possible. Girls too, yes, but especially the boys, because it's their job to be conquerors. Just boys, no, I say if you can impact some brothers your own age or older, then you ought to do that too, and let them know that it's all about being independent. It's all about being able to protect and defend. Let them know too. But from my experiences, it's like Frederick Douglass said, even though I hate to quote Frederick Douglass, it's easier to build strong boys than to repair broken men. So you ought to be trying to pass this mindset so that this thing can spread. And that's going to have a major effect. So my main thing in life right now, and I even wrote a book on it called A Blueprint for Black Youth Empowerment. I wrote a book on this, and I tried to be as concise yet impactful in this book as I could possibly be. But my main thing now is no more spoiled Black boys. There won't be any more Black manhood. There won't be any more Black families. There won't be any more Nat Turners. The struggle is going to be over if we continue to raise spoiled, punk-ass, irresponsible, gender-confused, abusive towards women, Black boys. You cannot spoil these boys and expect to reclaim the essence of Nat Turner. Nat Turner, I know for a fact that Nat Turner had a strong, hard mom, father, and support system around him that wasn't allowing, and excuse my language, but they weren't allowing no punk shit. Because you can't grow up and become Nat Turner from a soft-ass, no discipline, no responsibility. It's not going to happen. So no more spoiled Black boys. So I say to Black men, that is your job, once you get the right mindset, once you move in the right direction, to train not only your sons, but as many boys as you can get access to. I don't care, and it's another note I wrote on this. I have a program where we've had as many as 100 and some boys, sometimes just 30 or 40. But whatever we do, we put in the right mindset in these boys. We training them spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally to be warriors. I don't think it's all right or even fair or correct to stop at your own household. And it may not look like what I'm doing. You may be a coach. You may be a teacher. You may be working in an institution with troubled youth. I don't know how it will look, but it's your job to pass this mindset to as many young African males over here in the hills of America as you can. That's the most powerful thing we can be doing. We need men badly, and we need that Nat Turner mindset badly. But our women, our families have been attacked and weakened greatly. Many of our women have no idea how to train a warrior male. And you're going to have to raise more than just your own children in whatever capacity you do it in. I don't care if you're a football coach, a boxing coach, a math teacher. I don't care what you are. If you come into contact with young black men, you need to be trying to get this knowledge into them. My next point is to start early. Like I said before, black manhood starts way before you turn 18 or 25. By then, it might be too late. The earlier you can start, the more impact you can have in training a real warrior. You got to practice what you preach. Right? I got boys in my program that like to do cage fighting, boxing, football, wrestling. They like being in danger. They like combat. They like that kind of stuff. But they listen to me and follow what I say because I've done all of it. You can't be telling a young black male to be a warrior, be strong, be disciplined, and you live in the exact opposite lifestyle. You soft, you weak, you undisciplined, you out of shape, you're scared to fight. That's not gonna work. You gotta practice what you preach. All right? With our black boys, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's very important to be stern. And some people call it aggressive, some people call it mean. But if you're gonna raise a young African male to be a warrior, you're gonna have to be mean sometimes. I raised my little brother who's now 21. I raised him I was basically the father figure in his life. And I asked him at some point, I said, there was a time where I thought he was gonna go the wrong way. And I asked him, I said, how was it that you decided to go man? When did you realize what manhood was and what you needed to do? And he said, I realized what manhood was when you had me doing these crazy, painful exercises, and I didn't even know the point of it. He said, I said, T, I don't want to do this. This hurts. Why do I have to do this? I don't want to do it. I can't do it. And he said, you told me do it anyway. Right? He said that was a turning point for him. When you don't want to do something, you don't feel like doing it. You just don't even know why you got to do it. And then you have to do it anyway. And that's how life feels as a black man. Sometimes it's hard, tough, and defeating and devastating, but you got to get up and go anyway. And so if you're going to create black warriors, you're going to have to be harsh, staunch, aggressive, whatever they want to call it, you're going to have to do it. But the next thing you're going to have to do is always show love, because they'll follow you and put up with your mess as long as they know you love them. They'll respond better to the brutality and the harshness of what you teach them. They'll respond better to it as long as they know this man actually loves me. Whether it's your son or somebody else you're trying to build, they're not going to be very receptive of what you're saying unless they know this guy really got my back. So I may not want to do this. I may be pissed off at what he's saying, but I know he got my back. And you have to be consistent. Like I tell everybody, man, you don't lose weight by going to the gym one day out the month. And you're not going to build a black Nat Turner mindset in our youth by just talking to them once a month. You got to be around. You got to stay around day in, day out. Whenever they call on you, even if they don't call on you, you need to be on the job, because they're getting a lot of negative influences and impacts from every side. And so we got to be on our job. And we have to teach them combat. We got to teach them the art of war. We got to teach them the fact that we at war. And when I say combat, like I said, the war's on all fronts. But right now I'm talking about hand-to-hand combat, knife combat, stick combat, gun combat. Those are to be essential components of any, what do they call it? Any curriculum that you come up with for black males. It has to be, because that's the reality that we in. I might have to connect to the charger real quick. 1 second. I'm on my last points now. I just got a few points for the sisters, and that'll be it. Shoot. All right. I got a few points for the sisters, because they're very crucial in us reclaiming that natural energy. They play a vital role, a very important role. Number one, sisters, I say don't accept no, and I hate to use this word. Nobody didn't tell me I couldn't cuss. So don't accept no sissy shit. What do I mean by that? Don't accept no sissy shit from any potential spouses, anybody you dating. If they weak, if they feminine, if they soft, if they don't embody the spirit of a warrior, then kick their ass to the curb. Don't accept it from anybody you're dating. Don't accept it from your spouse. If you already done, if you got a boyfriend or a fiance or a husband and he's soft as shit, either he gonna have to man up or then this is gonna be a problem. We can't have our women accepting sissy shit, because that's gonna breed sissy shit, like Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade. Like Yai Santawa, when the men wouldn't fight and the British were demanding the golden stool and they were coming in to conquer, the men was willing to concede and compromise and submit. She told them, if your men are not gonna fight, then we'll go fight, right? We need women like that. We need women that'll, you want the men to lead. You want them to go fight. This their job, and you're not gonna accept nothing less out of them. That's what I want to see from our sisters. You don't accept sissy shit from a spouse, from your son, from your friend's son. If you go over your friend's house, right, your girlfriend, your little, your friends you hang out with, and their son twisting around, wearing mummy heels and being soft, but tell her that's messed up. I ain't with that. He shouldn't be doing that. This will help us out, because a lot of us don't know right from wrong, or don't want to know these days. All right? Not from your nieces, your nephews, none of the men in your life. All right? Anybody that you allow to be around you, that's a man, that's a male, needs to be a man. Don't accept it, don't co-sign it, don't giggle at it, don't like it on Instagram, don't repost it. Call it out and let it be known that that's bullshit. All right, let's go to the next one. Push warriorhood, okay? Dr. Khalid Muhammad said, sisters, if he's not a warrior, he shouldn't even be able to talk to you. He said, if he's not a black power warrior, you shouldn't even give him the time of day. You've been done got tied up with some weak ass wimp and made a baby just as sorry as the daddy. That's what Dr. Khalid Muhammad said. So if he's not a warrior, if he ain't what we need, if he ain't got that nocturnal energy, then don't entertain him. He don't need to reproduce. We don't need any more like that, okay? And not only pushing warriorship, but a part of warriorship is discipline and accountability. So whether you're married or not, got a boyfriend or not, if you have a boy that you raising, you need to drive home discipline and accountability to him. And if you don't like it, he can get the hell out. We got too many soft-ass, unaccountable, irresponsible, ignorant, lazy, soft, young black males. Okay? And in all of that I said, I know I put a burden on you, sisters, but if you do have a man, let him be the man. Be the feminine that balances. You're not only going to balance his masculine, you're going to boost it by still being feminine. And that's a hard, I just told you, demand warriorhood, demand accountability, but still be feminine. It's a balance. It's a balance. And only the sisters can do it. Can't no man do it. No matter how many surgeries or how many hormones he take, only the sisters can do it. But that's what I say. And last but not least, stay the hell away from feminism, lesbianism, and liberalism. That's all to the destruction of the black family. The black man will never have another Nat Turner again. if our sisters keep getting caught up in that shit, Black Lives Matter, which is Gay Lives Matter, that type of thing. So those are my points on reclaiming that energy, trying to sow that seed into our Black boys, trying to see more of that revolutionary spirit like Nat Turner had, and keep that tradition going. Those are my points. I try to keep it practical. I try to keep it simple. I try to keep it straightforward. And those are the things that I've learned. Like I said, I've been practicing criminal defense for 8 years, criminal defense and family law. I went to college as a football player at the University of Iowa, finished law school, graduated with honors, passed the bar on my first try. I grew up in Black poverty, food stamps and all that stuff. But I also went to the whitest of white colleges and then had to be in front of white judges and juries and prosecutors. I experienced both sides of the coin. I did a lot of my study by myself, reading these books and tearing them up and going through them and through them and through them until they can't be going through no more. And so I done done the white, what they call academic education. I done a lot of our own Black education from our own scholars, which I still got more to do. But those are my points as far as trying to reclaim that essence and ensure that it continues. And so if there's any questions, I don't know how I'm going to do questions. I don't really know much about how this works. But if there's any questions, then I'll be willing to answer questions. That's all I got.
Great. If anybody has any questions, you can unmute yourself and fire away. Or post them in the chat if you don't want to use your voice. But at any event, fire away.
I don't know how to do the chat. Can you see the chat?
I can see the chat. So if anybody posts anything, I'll read it.
All right, cool.
Peace. This is Sister Adenike. How are you, brother?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm great. My question is, what would be your approach for us to have a sovereign state within this country?
Well, when people start talking about having a sovereign state, the first thing that we're going to have to do, number one, that Dr. Amos Wilson talks about is that we need to have a cohesive Black first, team first ideology. And as long as we're not on the same page as far as what we need to do, thinking team-based, like Dr. Claude Anderson says, everybody's on a team. You were born on that team. You don't have a choice. But a lot of Black people don't even acknowledge what team they're on. And you're not getting no sovereignty that way. So we need to have more of a, not a complete consensus, but more of a consensus on, put it like this, like Chancellor Williams said in Destruction of Black Civilization, it's not going to be no Black unity until we can agree on who our enemy is. So that'll be the first step towards sovereignty. And then the next thing is going to be economic empowerment, because politics and everything else don't come into effect to benefit you until you have economic empowerment, meaning that your people have enough financial power, economic power to make an impact. And I was a political science major, and I don't want to make it all about money, but we need to be more economically empowered. So I would say, before we talk about a sovereign state, I don't even know how you can have a sovereign state within the state, but I guess the Native Americans do it. I would say, number one, more agreement, more cohesiveness as far as our ideology, Black team base. And number two, economic empowerment, not wasting money, looking toward and moving towards ownership and the ability to more effectively influence the politics of the country on our behalf, and not by voting or anything of that nature. So if we're going to talk about sovereignty, like I said, I always like to keep things practical and step by step. And I think those are the first two components of that.
Okay, thanks, brother. Peace.
Anyone else? Don't be shy.
Hey, brother, this is Candace Kujichagalia. I'm Alias's wife. I did have a question. I think you're one of the first, you know, African conscious people that I have heard still admit, and I think it's a fine thing because I think I would classify myself as this way too, but I actually say that, that there's some kind of Christian. And, as we know from studying Nat Turner, he was able to incite, righteous rebellion, while being, some kind of Christian. Um, how do you think, um, uh, how do you think, African people should go about, I guess, reflecting on their religion so that they don't lose sight of, who they are and what needs to be done in the society?
That's a good question. Well, I was raised a strict Southern Pentecostal Christian. My pastor used to preach from the book of Revelations every Sunday, and he would say, they called him a fire and brimstone pastor. And if you're not, they would say, if the music ain't praising God, it's praising the devil. So you couldn't listen to R&B or anything like that. But the thing about it is we need some of that these days with all of this decrepit morals we got amongst our people. But anyway, back to the point. I went through a painful process of learning. It started with Dr. Clark. I went through a painful process. Learning all this stuff goes back to Africa. I'll show you one of the books I read. All of these spiritual systems go back to Africa because the Ethiopians created the first spiritual systems. And I call them Kemites because I don't want to say Egypt. I just call it Kemet. So I'll say the Kemites. This is one of the books by Dr. Ben that I read. Every concept, every precept, everything that you love about Christianity, Judaism, or Islam was already present in our ancient African spiritual systems. Okay, from the Ten Commandments right on down. And so once I learned that and I started looking at the different spiritual systems, I realized that every one of these religions is just another language of talking about God and his principles. God, the Most High, the Almighty, whatever you call them, Amun Ra, okay, whatever Osiris, whatever you call them. All of these different religions are just languages for expressing the same thing. Because when I went back and started studying the rest, because when they told me about Ogun, I started studying the West African religion. And I realized in voodoo too, who was brought up to think that voodoo was so evil and so devilish. But the thing about it is, all of these are just, because you got Santeria that came off voodoo. All of these religions are just languages from what I see. And this is how you articulate your relationship to the Most High. Because the same way Christians believe they're going to have a judgment day, right, and be judged by their deeds. If you study comedic science, you're going to be judged. You're going to stand before, is it thought? You're going to stand before the scales of justice, and they're going to weigh what you did and what you didn't do. And it's the same thing. So the 42 negative confessions are the same thing that the Ten Commandments come from. So with me, once I realized that we created all of it, and that although a lot of it has been poison, now we got to admit that. You got to be strong. As a Christian, you don't want to admit that, but a lot of our Christian doctrine and scripture and the translations of the Bible have been poisoned. And I guess I haven't studied the Quran as much, but I would bet that has too. So once you realize that our ancestors' spiritual system were what created all of this, and that you got to get back to the correct form of it, regardless of where you're at, then you can do like Malcolm said. I don't care if you're a Christian, Jew, if you're a Mason, Elk, we all got the same enemy and the same mission. And so Marcus Garvey was a Christian. Harriet Tubman was a Christian. So the conscious community is rapidly against Christianity. So it's not something that's easy to say, but if you look at it, if you're against Christianity, is you're against Nat Turner, Harriet Tubman, and Marcus Garvey. So I just feel like the different religions are all different languages, and it's even diversity amongst the kinetic sciences. It's different stories about Isis and Osiris. It's different. So I just feel like they're different languages. So I hope I was able to explain that well.
That's great perspective. Very well, thank you.
All right.
Okay, we have a question from feel like Sister Empress. Says, greetings, dear brother. Thank you so much for your spirit and presentation. We have launched the We Charge Genocide 21 project and have done a tremendous amount of work and research during the past 7 years. We are now seeking serious Black legal minds who can provide a few hours monthly to assist in fine-tuning some of the legal filings, provide their analysis, etc. Would you be interested?
They would have to email me, and I would have to have more information to see what courts this is filed in. See, now the thing about being a lawyer, you understand things like jurisdiction, things like enforcement power, and a lot of our people talk about going to the World Court, the UN, and things of that nature. And the first thing that always comes to my mind is what enforcement power do those bodies have over the United States? And so I would have to see what it is, who we filing with, what are we alleging, and how are we going about it to make sure it's feasible. Not only, I don't want to say feasible because half the stuff we got to do ain't feasible. It still got to be done. Just to make sure it's being done in the most effective and efficient manner. But if they email me at attorneyawesome@gmail.com, I'll look at it. And if it's attorneyawesome@gmail.com.
Attorney Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Just like my Instagram, attorneyawesome@gmail.com.
All right, I'll put it in the chat.
Doc shotgun. Buck front, yeah. Buck shot. Intro to O, and my dude that Timbuktu to Ave. Renew your passion, shun the condition, and not the who, what, when, where, and you are from. At last, put the higher